Good morning, Flosstube. It's Caroline from Caroline's Corner here in Leeds in West Yorkshire. I'm shooting a little Flosstube extra because I've got the house to myself this morning, and that means I can open the teenagers' bedroom doors and let some light into where I have my curio cabinet, which I've wanted to share with you for quite a while. It's where I keep some of my most special finishes. The cabinet came from my late mother-in-law when we cleared her house out. It used to be her glass cabinet. Mum was probably a china cabinet before that, but I asked if we could keep it so I could store my needlework treasures in there. The needle-pointed chair was done by my husband's grandma, and the other cupboard was my grandma's, and it's where I store my linens. So I am going to pause this and set up again to show you all what's actually in the cabinet. Right. What I didn't explain is that this cabinet is on the landing in my house, hence needing the teenagers' bedroom doors open. So I can only do that when no one else is at home, because as soon as the teenagers get home, their doors get shut. So there's some very special things in this cabinet that I've stitched over the years. A lot of them are class pieces that I did through hanging by a thread in London. As I've said in previous videos, sadly the owner passed away a few years ago, but she used to regularly get C.A. Wells, Mary Cox, Lauren Sauer of Forget Me Nots in Stitches over to teach. They were the people I took classes of. I think she also had Sharon of Patrick Woods, maybe, oh, Eileen Bennett. I took a class with Eileen Bennett. That was a very special class. That was at the Fitzwilliam Museum. I don't have that piece. That's in another drawer waiting to be finished. But it's on my list, obviously, for my 60 for 60. So we'll start at the front. And the first piece is one by C.A. Wells. Now this was called the Pyramid Etui. Hopefully there won't be too much shadow. It's a bit awkward with the light. So this is a four-sided etui. Very beautiful, delicate colours, although several people, I use the colourful colours, but I've seen other people do it in very different colours. That's the base. I put 2008 on the base because that is when I actually finished the stitching. I remember stitching this when my daughter, who's about to turn 18, was a baby. And it opens out as so. Show all the bits. Oops. So there is a Bargello pincushion in the middle, which lifts up. I put 2004 on the bottom of the pincushion because that's when the actual class was taken. There's the base of the etui. Can't work out what it says at the moment. There was a header bow ring for threads. There is a space to store your scissors. I don't have scissors in this one at the minute. A little place for your needles, and another pocket for a awl or a laying tool. That is my pyramid etui. It's a beautiful piece and I loved stitching that. Let's put them on the floor. Now another C.A. Wells piece. This one is a little scissor keep. Can't remember the name of it now, I'd have to go and look it up. I know it was one of the first. It says 2006 on there, but I'm fairly sure it was one of the first classes I did with her. I just did, that's 2006 will have been when I finished it. Scissors in there actually belong with another set, so I must put them in at some point, because I'll have used it somewhere. So yeah, little hanging scissor pouch. Another CA piece I took the class in 2007 is the Peacock sewing case. Really love the colours on this one. Slightly different for CA because it used a chain stitch method of joining. As always with CA, every surface was covered, so there's a place to store your scissors and your needles. That Peacock sewing case, that's the back. This next piece was actually an online class that I took through the Shining Needle Society with Mary Cox. And the original piece is the Americana sewing case. However, I made it into an Anglicana sewing case by changing out the flag to be the St. George's Cross. And I changed the words on the sewing case from Some Words by George Washington to the opening lines of the hymn Jerusalem by by William Blake. So it says, "And did these feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountains green?" It's a hymn you will have heard. It's sung at most state occasions, national occasions, to a tune by Parry. And inside there's a little pocket for a needle threader. There's a bodkin that came with it, scissors, and a space for your needles. So yeah, I'm Mary Cox. As I say, I refer to it as the Anglicanum sewing case rather than the Americana. This next one is another piece by Mary Cox that I also stitched through the Shining Needle Society. This is in 2011 I did this one. It's called Tend Thy Sheep. So it is a shaker box, and the class was to line the box and make some little smalls. So there's a little needle case, as you can see the sheep on there. That was a fun one to do. I did enjoy doing the buttonhole stitch flowers. Very pretty overdyed cotton. Scissors. I have a thread keep and a little ruler. And there's I don't know how easily you'll see this, but there is a band that runs all the way around. I'm just bring that light in a bit closer so you can see that. There you go. So I'm really sorry, but this is a horrible place for lighting. And there's a little pink heap that is attached to the side, and you've got a little scene with the sheep and then a decorative band. And in the class we learnt how to line the box and finish everything off. It does actually look a little bit dusty because I keep it without the lid on. In the corner. Now this is a piece you have seen because I finished it a couple of years ago. It's another C.A. Wells piece. This was the Mermaid's bag, which was a class I took with C.A. I think 2009 maybe, because I've stitched it as a birth memorial for my daughter. So yeah, so bag is a fully lined bag, drawstring, little pockets around the outside with the acorn, mother of pearl charms. I added a couple of beads to the mermaid to give for her necklace rather than doing French knots, because who wouldn't? I'll not show you there is wording on the bottom, but as that's personal to my daughter, I'll not show you that bit. So yeah, that was the mermaid's box. I might move the light back a little bit again now. There we go. Then next piece is by Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches. Lauren Sauer is the designer behind Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches, and it is the Red Rabbit needle case, and this is a piece Lauren designed inspired by Scottish samplers, and I stitched it in 2009. I think I have memories of doing all the non-stitch edging when my son was little. He was born in 2010. So the front cover, the back cover, the Bargello spine, and then on the inside it's just some pockets, so places for needles, place for scissors, though I don't keep the scissors in there. I also made there was a pattern for a little scissor fob with the boxer off a sampler chart, but the scissors stay in their own little pouch. So yeah, that is Red Rabbit rather. It's a Red Rabbit needle case by Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches. The next piece is another C.A. Wells. This was an extra class piece that she offered when she taught the mermaid sewing case. I stitched it quite a while later, and I did most of it in 2017 when on a private retreat with friends. We go to a place called Dove Farm, which is why I put that in there. As you can see, there's an awl in the front, and then in the back there is a 2.5 inch square. And it's got little header bow rings on the bottom, so I could use that for storing floss if I wanted to. So that's the Mermaid Companion, I think she called it. Next is another Mary Cox class that I took, 2005. This is the Swan Lake stitching bag. Mary taught in London. All red work. I think it's Weeks brick that's used. Is the just let me. Mary copied this off a antique that she'd found in when antiquing. So on one side there is a little needlebook, antique linens. So and on the other side is a little pocket, more swans, and the bag itself is made of this lovely twill fabric. And inside there is more. There is a little holder that has some scrimshaw in, scrimshaw thread winder. So you can see the swan. These are all made from antique recycled piano keys. And a little ruler. Okay. I have actually used this quite a lot and taken it places. There's a little pocket. On the back it says buttons, snaps, thimble, thread wax, for safety pins, needle, scissors, measure. There's a little pinky. Like I say, I do use this one. It's a thread keep. I think they were all threads when I took the class with Nicola for Bethia, which was quite some time ago. And scissors used to be red, but the red's all worn off now. And there's a little fob that I did. And we gave us these buttons, swan buttons, so we could make a waxer to go with it. Otherwise, I keep a lot of other stuff in here. There's some random threads in the Company of Friends pin keep. I have a few of those. And oh, that's where it went. There's my star detailer. I wondered where that was. It's in my Mary Cox. And that's another in the Company of Friends. And there's some rules, some threads and stuff that I picked up. So that's my Mary Cox Swan Lake sewing bag. I would quite often take this sewing bag to retreats because it was, and classes, because it had everything in it and was a convenient place to store things. Next up is another C.A. Wells piece. This is the Copenhagen Sewing Companion. It's all whitework and it was on uneven weave linen, which made it a fun knot to do. So I took the class in 2005 again for that one. Finished it a few years ago. I can't remember if this one has been on my Flosstube or not. It might have been. And it opened out, and there's a thread keep up the top, scissors with a scissor keep, again, put St George's cross on, and 2014 is when I stitched the scissor keep, some little pillows for pins, scissors, and a pocket down the bottom that I've got some needles in. And the piece we did in class to get used to it is a little tape measure cover. Got a crown on one side and my initials on the other. The Copenhagen Whitework. Now this next one you have definitely seen because I finished it last year, or very start of this year. It's my three-sided etui, which CA designed for her 10th anniversary of teaching at Hanging by a Thread in 2006. So just took a while to finish. So you saw me finishing the stitching on this. You also saw me finish when it was finished. So inside it's got a little ruler, an awl, and a pair of scissors with a pin cushion, three-sided pin cushion. 2020 was when I finished stitching on it. There we go. And this is based off a Lauderay macaron holder. There we go. So to go with it, CA gave us designed a little kit to line a sugared almonds box. So a little pin cushion, a little design around the sides, and a base, and my monogram on the top. And then lastly on this shelf, I've got my exchange piece that I received at the Great British Sampler Weekend in 2023, sorry. This was stitched by Leona, who's Sampler Threads on Instagram, and one of the model stitchers for Hands Across the Sea. She made this beautiful sewing case with a matching ditty bag for the exchange. So scissors, the scissor fob, the pockets, places to keep needles, and some thread drops. So again, really useful. I do use this one as well. It's a useful one to pick up and take if I'm going to a class or a retreat. So I'm just going to pause the video now while I put all this stuff back, and then we'll start on shelf number 2. Right, back with shelf number 2, and this is the first class I took with C.A. Wells, which is in 2003, and it's a little cottage needle case. So you slide the button up, and needle case comes out the bottom. I use that for holding my beading needles, so I always know where they are. Not that I need them as much these days, but it's useful to know. So lovely overdyed thread gatherer silk used on that one. Something roses, I think. Can't remember off the top of my head. No, I went out and bought a skein afterwards. And that's the back with my initials, the date. Next up is one you've seen quite a bit of this year, so I won't talk about it a lot, but it is the Ellen's Keepsake box from the class I took at Peacock Needleworks back in June this year with Heartstring Samplery. And the smalls, the pin drum. This is a fob on a pair of antique stalk scissors that we found in my mother-in-law's things. Needlebook. And the two strawberries. The pin drum I made because there was we got the option to make that instead of doing a fob, and the needlebook I just did to make up, use up my linen. So the next couple of pieces were limited editions. These were by Olde Colonial Designs, the Needlework Garden. So this is the thread palette. You'll know I finished off the stitching for the sewing basket earlier this year, so that's on my to be finished pile. So that's the thread palette, which is in the back there. And I also have the Ort box, Nantucket basket. There we go. It's lost its fastenings inside. To repair that. I think a kid pulled it off at some point. So yeah, so I need to get there is another couple of pieces in the series, but I wasn't in a position to buy them at the time. So I think these were got, and the basket pre-kids. So once the kids came along, that was it. This next one is a drum pincushion that was designed by Annemiek of the Needles Content. It's her company, the Handwork Boutique in the Netherlands. This was a breast cancer fundraiser kit through Lady Dot, Lois, Lady Dot Creates, when she ran Elegant Stitch. And we got all the kit materials to make this cushion. She did a series of things that were all on this dyed pink linen for to raise money for breast cancer care. The next piece is a painted box with accompanying needle case, which you have seen because I stitched it a few years ago. I was gifted by a very dear friend. They're both by it's a Peacock's kit, as I'm sure you can tell looking at the needle case. That's a side. And it came as a complete kit. And then this is the first class I ever took, which was with Peacock's in 2001. I think it's called For Thee, this little box. I need to repair the header bow loop. Oh, sorry, 2002. I put on the sorry, 2002 I took this class. There's a little pin cushion, a little holder for a needle threader. 22nd of June 2002 I put on there, so that must have been when the class was. Scissors, scissor sheath, and a little scissor fob. And a Needlecase. So this was my first attempt at putting together a 3D object, this box. Just so I'm quite pleased with how I did, and I've definitely gotten better over the years of doing it. So unless I've said that this has come from somebody else, I do all my own finishing, and it's just something I'm getting. I mean, I probably do it differently now, but that is all. So that was the first one I ever did. Again, this is a limited edition piece. This was a collaboration, market collaboration between, in 2002, with Liberty Hill and Hillside Samplings. And you've seen this one because I've stitched and finished it while I've been filming Flosstube. It's a little needle case. And that was the inside. With the stars on the front and the little sheepies in my mess. And like I say, it's to match the box. I have a few of the Hillside Samplings, Liberty Hill collaborations, but that's the only one I've actually stitched. So I need to do some more. This is a little Biscournu by Indigo Rose, and again this was a fundraiser for breast cancer. So quite simple, just all cross stitches and then put together, and it sits on this little stool. This was an exchange gift from the summer exchange at the Big Stitch last year, and from Donetta, who is Banana Stitcher on Instagram, and it's summer piece by Barbara Designs. Very, very cute. And it lives in the cabinet when it doesn't go out on my summer display. Then the only other thing I have on this layer is another of the Liberty Hill pieces while it's waiting for, I think it's a needle roll that goes in here, and it holds some name badge, my name badges from various retreats, and some little badges that were stitched, were again a breast cancer fundraiser from Elegant Stitch. So that one was designed by Shepherd's Bush. I can't remember who designed that one. Or that one, to be honest, because it's been so long since I stitched them. I do occasionally wear them on things. So again, Lois sent you the kit and all the finishing materials. So I'll pause this one again and then I'll get sorted with the last shelf. So I've had to take everything off the bottom shelf already because I can't reach down for it all the time. So I've got a lap full of stuff, so this may all go horribly wrong if it all decides to fall off. So the first thing I have to show you is a Victoria Sampler, Hearts of America. I stitched a couple of those for states I'd visited at the time. So that was after a visit to California in 2005, which I made a visit to. There was a shop in Sacramento. His name escapes me at the moment. They've long since closed. Something Penguin. Yeah. I went to Needle in a Haystack in Almeida. And met up with some folk I knew through what was then the Teresa Wensler bulletin board. And I went to Elegant Stitch in Modesto. And it was walking into Elegant Stitch and talking to the lady behind the counter when I realised that I obviously shopped at Elegant Stitch a lot more than I thought I did at the time, because I said who I was, and she turned around and yelled to the back of it, "Lois, it's Caroline with a K!" And Lois ran out and gave me a massive hug. And I thought, oh, obviously I spent more with you than I thought I did. And I met the shop cats, and it was all lovely. And yes, I had a lovely shop. Have I stitched much of what I bought on that trip? No, I haven't. It's all up in my stash. This is why I tend to go back and stitch a lot of the old stuff, because I've got so much lovely stuff. So yeah, so that was a memento of that trip. It has some flag fabric on the back and blue and red ribbons, finished as a. I still have I have a Texas one that I did as well that I still have to finish, but will probably be on the list for the my finishing challenge. So this next one is another C.A. Bell's piece. It's called The Finishing Companion, and we did it in 2004. This is a really useful piece, and it goes to all my classes and workshops, even now, after 21 years after I made it. It's looking a little worn around the edges, understandably, because it gets shoved in and out of bags a lot. But it's really useful because it has a pocket for some scissors, and they are really nice sharp scissors. And in the main pocket there's a little rotary cutter, there's a little 6-inch ruler, a mini cutting board, which is incredibly useful, and a companion piece, another little pocket that has another 2.5-inch square in it, and a scrap of linen as a pressing cloth, because the back of it is padded and you can use it as a pressing mat. Not that I ever have, but you could use it as a pressing mat. So, like I say, it's quite a very useful piece, and it goes to all the classes with me. C.A. Wells, that one. Put everything back in so it doesn't get lost. Next up is one you have definitely seen this year. It is my Fruits of the Vine Hussif. When I went to the Heartstring Samplery class, I took the Hussif because it's a really useful way to carry everything. So between the Hussif and the Peacock sewing bag, it's one or the other that I would usually take to a class, and the finishing kit. So Hussif you have seen this year. So that's the back of it. If you remember, I spent ages, it took me a good year to finish off this sampler. It's a pincushion in the inside, and I have various things that I've put in here. I should probably put that with the Keepsake box. That was a corner gauge that Beth Twist gave us at the Peakside Retreat. There is the needle roll that goes with the teaching piece with the sieve. We did that in the class with Ellen. I took this class. This class was taken with Fobbles back in 2011 when Ellen was visiting the UK, and there is a scissors and a scissor fob. And I put a few other useful things in here, like a seam ripper, and a little ruler that I also got at the Peakside retreat. It's by Stacey Nash. Maybe swearing will help. It does sometimes when you're finishing. My next piece is by Hillside Samplings, and it's my stitching chair nécessaire, which was an online class through Traditional Stitches, early 2000s. I can't remember. Do I have the date on anything? No, don't. So it sits over the arm of your stitching chair. This used to sit permanently over the arm of my stitching chair until I had my kids, and then it retired. So there's these scissors. So these are my Dovos. The scissor fob. There's a pincushion that contains a magnet, but it's one of the reasons I put it away is it's getting a bit worn where the magnet is. So needlework and two little pockets. So I can't remember when I stitched that, but it will have been in the early 2000s. Find needle threaders and everything. Just wondered what was sticking through the needle threader. My stitching chair nécessaire. Oh, everything's going flying now. That was holding a few things in place. So next is my From the Heart accessories. I have the last piece in the set to finish the stitching on and then do the finishing, which is a basket. But these were, again, breast cancer fundraisers from Lois. Lady Duck Creates at Elegant Stitch. That was 2001 for the needle roll. Then there was a sewing pocket. So that will have been released in 2002, but I stitched it in 2006. And then the following year, there was a needlework, which I stitched in 2007. And a pair of scissors and a scissor fob. Oops. Like I say, I still have the last piece in the set to finish the stitching on, but I think that's going to be a priority for the next year is finish the stitching on that one, because it is my oldest of my medium-sized projects, and I would like to prioritize, and was started in 2019, and I'd like to prioritize getting my pre-2020 stuff finished next year. So as the From the Heart sewing accessories. Just bear with me while I pick up everything that fell on the floor. So the next set is the first class that I took with Lauren Sauer, Forget-Me-Nots and Stitches. It was called Take a Lovely Sampler, and she took motifs off a sampler that was in a collection of a friend of hers, and she made this lovely ditty bag. You have seen this before because I finished the stitching and I finished it. Well, I've got 2019 on the back of the bag, so that was when I finished the stitching, and so I have finished it since I was recording Flosstube 2050 on the little Pincushion. So very, very Lauren, with all the use of colour, texture. There's a little scissor rest, and it has City of London flag, that way up, City of London flag on the back, which is the cross of St George with a sword in the corner. A little needlebook. And a scissor fob. So I think it might have been about 2006 I actually took the class with Lauren. So there's the set of pieces and the beautiful bag. Then there's another of the Mermaid pieces that I did with COLs. Now this one says 2005 on it, and it contains a little mirror and a comb in the pocket on the back. Then after she'd done the From the Heart series, Lois did another set of sewing accessories called This Too Will Pass, starting in 2005, because I stitched this in 2005. This is a scissor keep. It's all got all sorts of motifs on it. There is a matching pin keep, which I stitched in 2010. And I think back at the time, This Too Shall Pass, because I had a baby and a toddler, was resonating with me quite strongly. And the other piece I finished, there is a little kit to make a strawberry, and there was matching counting pins you could buy extra. I've one piece left to finish. I have fully finished the stitching on it. I finished the stitching on it at the end of last year, so you may remember that, which is a box, which I just need to assemble. It's waiting its place in the queue of the more complicated assembly stuff, because at the moment I'm plugging away at Glastonbury Garden, which is another sewing case by Lauren Sauer, and there's a lot of non-stitch, so it's taking a while. So before my voice gives out completely, I'm on to my last piece, which is another class piece by Mary Cox. There's this little sewing caddy and accessories. It's called Birds and Berries. Now in this caddy, I keep all my waxes, but I've got from various different places. So I think that was actually just some beeswax, but it was nice because it's printed with the honeycomb. I've got a starfish. That came with something, maybe a Stacey Nash piece. The acorns I bought at the Peakside retreat. No, I think the flowers come. Flowers are with something else I need to finish. Same with that one. Little bee and flowers. Little heart waxer. I can't remember what that came with. I have a raspberry and a strawberry. They are Taylor Nash, Stacey Nash's daughter. And I picked the raspberry up when I was at the Peakside retreat. I've had the strawberry for a little while. There's bee waxer. Again, can't remember which one that came from. And then I have a little fish. Scrimshaw thread winder, which I bought at the Mary Cox class. And you could get little plaques, Scrimshaw packs made for your sewing tray. So I have one with my initials on. As part of the Birds and Berries class, there is a pin keep. A scissor keep. 2005 again. For this class, it was the same weekend as we did the sewing, this Swan Lake sewing basket, and a little yeah, 5th of February 2005. I've put in the front of that. That's a little sewing case. So very merry. Inside there is a little place to keep your needles and a little pocket. And a little Scrimshaw thread winder at the back. Oh, thread winder come ruler. Forgotten about that. It's not nice when you revisit your treasures and find all the stuff little bits of it that you'd forgotten about. So that is the contents of my curio cabinet. I hope this video works. I shall see when I come to edit it. And I hope you've enjoyed looking at them and you enjoy this Flosstube extra. I will try and do some more with more of my old finishes, but I can't guarantee when I will. Probably try and upload this some point in November. I can't guarantee when. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I need to put all this stuff back and I will see you again soon. Bye.